Hello. So I, for the moment, am flying solo because my awesome teammate Reese is doing other awesome things on podcast. And so he may join us a little bit late. And that's okay though, because I am making him fly solo for next week's community office hours because I am going on actual vacation. Yay. And I'm not making it a workcation, so the community will be in his more than capable hands next week. And also, we are really excited about next week's office hours because don't forget that is going to be our early office hours. We switch. And so we do, this is the late, it's the EMEA America's friendly that people on the west coast of the United States can actually be here for without waking up when it's still dark. But then next week we are going to our alternate ones, and that is at noon UTC. That is a little more doable for our friends in Asia Pacific time zones. And so he is going to be talking actually to some of the organizers of UbuCon Asia. And so for next week, you'll definitely want to tune in for that. I won't be here, but Reese will be here with some awesome guests. As far as what has been going on in the community this week, if you notice, there has been some more chat in the Ubuntu discourse we're having this great conversation with the community about the GPG key signing for memberships, which is kind of a perfect segue soon to our guest. And so we've been having these conversations with the community. We're going to be having a talk about that next week. And that's going to happen with either Reese and myself and the council. And then also we've been having some talks with other canonical people to find out, if we do change this method of signing the code of conduct, then why do we need to change it? But also, how do we change it? So this conversation is happening. We're excited for anything that can potentially make it easier to have people become members, because our episode today is going to focus all about membership. And to do that, we're actually going to have two members here, and hopefully three. Our third one is having technical difficulties, but he will be joining us if he can. But we have Diogo from the Ubuntu Portugal podcast, who became a member, I believe, this past year.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello,
yes,
everyone.
It was in March this year, I think.
Excellent. And then we also have Dan. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
And Dan, how long have you been a member for?
So I became a member shortly after the 1810 cycle.
Okay, so both of you are fairly recent, considering how far back some of the memberships go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Dan, what's interesting is that you became a member, and if you want to show off that T-shirt, this is a great time to show it off. Ubuntu represent.
Yep.
Excellent. And so you became a member through the Ubuntu Council?
Yeah, through the Ubuntu team, I
Okay.
became a member. I actually started helping the team for the 1810 cycle. And then about 6 months after that, I became a member. I applied for membership and became a member through that team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, I think, because there's all these different ways to become a member, either through these councils. I know that Kubuntu. Also, you can become an Ubuntu member through their council. And we asked for some of them to join us, but they weren't able to join us this time. So hopefully next time. And I know that our other guest, who is Larry, who will hopefully be joining us. You might know him as Wildman on Discourse and the Ubuntu forums. He became a member through the forums, and so even though Diogo and I both became members through kind of the general process, because I feel like that hair clip for men. It's like I'm not only it's like I'm not only the president, I'm also a client. So I'm not only the community representative, but I'm also member too. And I became a member in December. And Diogo, I remember you were one of the first people who told me I should apply for membership years back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It was talking about UbuCon. And I was like, I don't know how. It's like, I want to go, but I don't know how to get there. And he's like, if you're a member, you can apply for funding. And I'm like, but I'm not a member. And he's like, well, you should apply. No, which was funny because I was convinced that you were a member for a long time.
Yeah, lots of people thought that because I was very engaged with the community well, at least in Europe, and yeah, usually most people that are so much engaged with the community as I was were members. So, but I wasn't. I mean, I hadn't had the need. I hadn't hit any barrier to contribution that made me do it. I started the process many years ago, but I then left it and completed this year.
So when was it that you started? And this is a question for both of you. When did you both kind of? What was your first kind of exposure to the Ubuntu community? When did you kind of hear about it and realize that this was a thing?
I can go first. Well, I was actually on the hunt, if you will, to contribute to some project, and I had originally started off looking at some other projects, and I'd even reached out, but one of them was the Corora team. I don't know if you remember that distribution, and they folded, and it was about the time they were closing down shop, if you will, and they thought they were going to restart again with different management, but it never happened. And so I had actually reached out to them to help because I was, a user and had been, trying it out, and I knew they needed some help. So I was like, well, that sounds great. I could probably lend a hand here. And that didn't work. So I eventually stumbled upon the Ubuntu team, and they were going through a big change with 1810. So we changed from the LXDE desktop environment to the LXQ desktop environment. And
Handily, it still started with L.
Oh yeah. But it needed a lot of help, and it needed a lot of testing, and it needed some new documentation, the whole thing. So that's when I was like, this team needs someone to lend a hand. So I wanted to jump right in. I've been a Linux user for a very long time and felt like I wanted to give back to some community somewhere. So this was a perfect opportunity to jump in because there was a lot of positions and available options to lend a hand. So it felt comfortable for me, and everywhere I turned, I met encouragement and people willing to help me help them. So it just evolved very quickly, and it was great.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Diogo, what was your experience? How did you find out about the Ubuntu community, and what was some of your early involvement?
So in Portugal, we had fairly active small community at the time. It was many years ago. I don't even know how many, but it was very shortly after Ubuntu came out for the first time. And there was this guy called Sean Neves, which was one of the first few Ubuntu members. He and also Marco Costa, I think it was his name. And they were organizing regular meetups. And at the time, I was using Ubuntu, and they were both members of other communities I was a member. So they told me about this, and they spread the message quite well within the Portuguese free software and open source communities. So I started attending the events, and I started learning more about Ubuntu, the Ubuntu community, about Ubuntu membership, all those things. And at the time I was still using both Debian and Ubuntu, but then with Unity, I just continued using Ubuntu because at the beginning, the first month, I hated Unity, and then I fell in love, and then and now I can't stop using it.
Yeah, we all kind of go through those stages, and thankfully now I haven't played with it yet, but I know that I have heard really good things about the remix. So yeah, and so I do want to, like, maybe during the next testing cycle, which is going to be on us, like, it feels like it's Christmas. You know, we get to Christmas and we're like, how is it already Christmas again? And then it becomes like, oh, it's another testing cycle. Didn't we just do this? But I think that I would like to maybe help out with some of the unofficial Avers, but I've heard really good things about that one. So now, Dan, what was it that so you were doing mostly testing?
Yeah, I originally started with mostly testing. There was a lot of things that were in motion, so testing was important. I also did some help in the documentation area because we had a lot of need for that as well. Our documentation manager, Lynn, is fantastic, and she does an excellent job. We have a fantastic manual.
Yeah. But we are hoping to get her on the show one day. So if you have a good experience, make sure to let her know. And we'd actually, oh my gosh, I would love to have like an all documentation show.
Oh, that would be great. I know she did a presentation a couple of years ago at Scale, I believe, and I watched that. It was pretty good. So I did some help there with a few things, adding some screenshots and stuff like that, and things of those nature. And then also did some publicizing because we had new desktop environment, so went out and did some blog posts, things like that, and forum posts, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point to keep in mind, that publicizing Ubuntu and getting the word out is such an important contribution. And I know a lot of people might not think of it as one, but it's like, no, you're helping find new users and new community members. And so it's one of those that's really kind of unsung, but it's just, I think it's equally valuable to every other form of contribution too.
It is for sure.
Yeah. And it seemed like, sorry, every now and then my speech gets a bit ahead of me, but Diogo, it seemed like you had a point to go off of that.
Yeah. It's not only helping. It does not only help the community; also helps the people that need Ubuntu, because Ubuntu actually helps other people. There are people that only started working in IT because they have Ubuntu and free software, which is usually obtain for free, and it has all the professional tools they need, and it just enables people. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that it's for free, that is developed, having people, normal people in mind, not just techies.
Mm-hmm.
It really is very helpful, not only for Ubuntu community, but also for the entire humanity.
Yeah, that kind of personally speaks to me. My husband got involved in Linux and free and open source software through Ubuntu with Hardy Heron because he blew up his uncle's computer, which had Windows. Didn't have the money to buy the new license. And so his uncle had one, it's back when the disc came in the magazines,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
gave him the disc. And now my husband is a budding junior software developer, and he got uh his job that he's had for 4 years now. 4 years now. Oh my God, it's been that long. He got it because of his extensive kind of self and community taught knowledge that he had, that all started with using Hardy Heron. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's really important.
I can echo some of that too on a professional level. Certainly, Ubuntu and free and open source software is very much the core of what I do professionally. I manage a team that, part of the team is, they're server administrators, and we very much rely on that. And we use other tools as well, but free and open source and Ubuntu, they're right at the core of it. So, and I'd like to think that I certainly advocate for that, and that's a lot of why I certainly gravitate towards this community myself.
It's just, and it is one of those things that it's brought in a lot of really great people who I virtually met over the past 2 years. So, and hopefully at an event. Oh, and it would be really interesting. And I think we have enough people in the chats to find out what release was kind of people's first, because I see
Mhm.
that Yannick also discovered Ubuntu at the same time that my husband did. So, and I think that Heron might be a kind of dominant answer then. That's
Let's see.
awesome. And Gorian, I don't know if you've seen let me see if I can show this on.
Yeah,
Oh, I can show that. That's awesome. So
cool.
Gorian's posted that he's a senior engineer at Intel building out infrastructure for a data center that is entirely FOSS-based on Ubuntu server.
Super cool.
Very nice. Very cool.
Super
Very
cool.
cool. Yeah. I know it is fancy. So, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh wait, I can show this to everybody. So, still kind of learning everything that StreamYard does, but yes, it is nice. So, what was it that made you want to apply for membership? And were there any when membership kind of first got mentioned, was there anything that kind of made you go, I don't know if I'm ready for that?
Yeah, I can say I certainly probably felt some imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, like, am I worthy of that? But everywhere I turned, everyone in the team certainly said that, yeah, absolutely, your contributions matter, and they've been sustained. And so please do apply. And here's the path to do that. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and we'll help you with any question you have. Like, no question was ever thought to be a dumb question, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
everything, and I know it's not super easy, and that's certainly been discussed in the forum. You're probably getting to that, but if there was any doubt that you didn't understand one step or the other, then they certainly were there to help you. So I just met encouragement everywhere I turned and couldn't get away from it. So I felt like, yeah, I should probably join then. So, and then it just evolved from there. Like I went from a member to a developer to a council member, and it just snowballed from there. So, it's been great. It's been a great ride.
Yeah. And this is really cool being a part of one of the flavors that has a membership route, because for Ubuntu Mate, we didn't have that. And Yannick and Big Pod, I hope you are listening, because I see you both in the chat. And sometimes it can be hard to convince people who contribute to flavors that it's contributing to Ubuntu.
Absolutely.
And because I know I face that, it's like, well, I don't contribute to Ubuntu. And then people go, but you contribute to Ubuntu Mate, right? And it's like, yes. And it's like, well, then you contribute to Ubuntu. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so I think thankfully with Lubuntu and Kubuntu, you've got that baked in with the membership via the team. But I think especially for, maybe like Budgie and Studio and Mate, and I can't remember if Ubuntu, and because I don't think that Kylan has a team that goes through membership. Ubuntu, I can't remember if they have a team that qualifies for membership. This is always the most nerve-wracking part, to try and remember all the official flavors and not leave one out. But I'm so glad that your teams, it's like, that it's like I'm contributing, yes, to this specific part of Ubuntu, but that is still a valid contribution. That counts.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So Ubuntu is an official flavor, but what I can't remember is if they have if you can get Ubuntu membership through being part of their team, like with Lubuntu and Kubuntu. And I think for the older Edubuntu Edubuntu?
Yeah.
Yes, that was true. So yes. So for all of you from the flavors who have been weighing if you should apply for membership, yes, the answer is yes. So
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And Diogo, when the question of membership came up, did you have any of those same issues?
Yeah, the imposter syndrome is certainly something that it's lots of us. And it was the other community members, both in Portugal and abroad, that actually convinced me that I should apply. And I started doing that, and yeah, that's how it rolled. It took a few years, but I ended up doing it because the wiki is still one of the questions that needs to be worked out in the process.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask, in addition to the imposter syndrome, which is very much something in my membership path that came up, but again, I had that group of incredibly supportive people who were just like, of course, it's like it's like what you are doing is valid and needed, and you've been doing it for 6 months. So yes, you should really do that. And I also had, and when we get to the technical parts of the membership journey, I'll bring these up too. But again, I think that the supportive nature of our community, I think, is most evident when we kind of don't feel great about ourselves and our abilities, and then others go, "Are you kidding? You do all of these. You put so much energy and time and skill." And it's just it's nice to have, because I think that all of us have kind of faced this.
There is a
Yeah.
part of the process that really helps boost your confidence is when you start asking people to recommend you.
Yeah.
Yep. And I
Yeah.
think that that's true of anything you try new, right? You don't feel super comfortable with it at the start. So until
Hmm.
you've been doing it a little bit, maybe you don't feel as comfortable. And then I've seen the roles shift over time for me, even in the short time that I've been involved, where now I'm starting to encourage other people to apply for their membership as well. So
Yep.
it's like I was just there a little while ago. I understand exactly what you're going through. So, I can see where you're at and you should apply yourself. So it certainly get a mentor, I guess, of some sort, if you
Hmm.
will, and, have them help you get through all those hurdles.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things that there's just such a natural mentorship there and it's great to see the people who become members and in turn becoming the ones who are saying, wait, you're not a member yet? Oh my gosh, here, what can I do to help you apply? And it's like, oh, get your page started and I will leave you a testimonial. And it's just, yeah, and it's so, and it's so great every now and then. Do either of you go back to your testimonial page?
I did a lot because my process was very long, and I was
Hmm.
building the page over the years, and so yeah, every time I went there, I got little bit more motivated to go there and continue to work on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've gone back to mine a couple of times too, and I certainly did
Hmm.
when I applied for developer membership as well. So, I had to put a little, put some other things on there and whatnot. So, yeah, I've done that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really good to think. And Guru Donu, we are going to get to your question at the end. I'm going to kind of hold that one. Um, that what was I going to say? Is that membership is just a start. It's kind of not like, oh, it's like I've this is some peak that I've reached and I'm never going to go any higher. Because definitely if you're on that developer or packager side, then it really kind of makes sense to it's like go for to become Motu or a core
Hmm.
dev. Certainly then it means that you can run for any of the councils. So if you kind of feel that like if you want to become part of like the membership board, or if you are really interested in IRC things, or if you want to take that leadership role, then membership kind of opens those paths up. And I think that certainly it's kind of one of the things that we want to talk about with members more is that, especially since oh my gosh, our community is, if it was a person, you, it's hit some milestones there. It's and because it's like, does Ubuntu membership now kind of what do we want it to mean? And so I think that and it's like, what do we and what can, especially for the community team, as in what can we empower the members to do? Because I
Mhm.
think that was one of my favorite parts of the wiki, was to say, well, what do you want to do going forward? So, and just curious, what were some of the things? I know, Diogo, this might be a little bit easier for you to remember, but what were some of the things that you said on your wiki that you wanted to do as a member?
So let's see if I remember because I have a really bad memory. But
It's okay.
I my goals are mostly linked to community engagement. I want to continue promote Ubuntu, both here in Portugal and abroad because I go a lot. I used to go a lot abroad, and I'll promote Ubuntu in other countries. Also,
Excellent.
I am a member and the president of the board of an association of Ubuntu communities in Europe. So
Hmm.
I have some goals of enabling that association to allow communities to cooperate a little more and share some resources and things like that to organize things like Ubicons and other things. Yeah, I think it's mostly around those things. There was a time where I was living abroad. I also had goals related with the community of the country that I was in, which is no longer the case at this point. But it's mostly around this, and continue to do the Portuguese Ubuntu podcast, which is something I really love, and that helps the Portuguese community and the Portuguese-speaking community, not just the Portuguese, to be aware of what's happening in the Ubuntu world.
Excellent. And Dan, what about you?
Well, it's a little while ago for me, but from what I remember, I certainly had some of the same aspirations in promoting Ubuntu and Lubuntu. But one thing I remember, like as a developer, that I wanted to make sure to do was also work with the upstream projects that we bring in. And I've done some of that as well. I certainly help support, I'll sit in their IRC channels and help support things, questions that other, not even Ubuntu flavors, just other, distributions, if they have a question about the same project, then I'll sit and help, support those things. And that was definitely something I want to make sure to do is give back upstream just as much as I did in Ubuntu itself. So
that's awesome. So now I'm going to bring in two more people. We are going to bring in my colleague Reese. Hello, Reese.
Hello.
Hi, Reese.
Hello.
And also
Hello.
We're going to bring in Larry. So he has been able to join. Hello, can you hear us? Oh, Larry, can we... testing it. Testing in prod happens in every stream. Okay, yeah. So Larry, can you try speaking? Okay, think we heard your keyboard.
Sorry, that was me.
Oh. Reese. Dang it. Okay. So, Larry, if you think you get your mic fixed, then actually I'm just going to keep you here. But if you get your mic fixed, then chime in. So, excellent. So, all right. So, when it came time to actually apply, and let's see. Okay, so let's get this question out of the way. Did either of you, I totally failed at my GPG key completely. It was embarrassing. I had to get help from Bill twice to be walk me through this like I was 5. So, yeah, just a little bit painful. So did either of you have kind of any tech hurdles?
Well, I was pretty nervous about it, but I did manage to get that. I don't remember asking questions about the GPG key per se.
That's
but
good.
You're right. It's not the most straightforward procedure. Certainly, I feel like there could be better tools to work with. And there used to be a thing called Seahorse, and I think that still exists, but I'm not sure how developed it is these days. So it doesn't necessarily, a lot of folks rely on GUI tools, and that's fine, provided they work well. And I don't know that does, right? So that's probably one of the reasons why you fell down there, I have to guess.
Yeah, and one of the other things, and this goes back to documentation, is that some of our documentation goes back to it's using 1204. It's not quite. So yeah,
it's tricky, right? Because you got to think when you're doing the GPG signing thing, GPG key signing thing. There's what are you trying to do? There's 2 things we're trying to achieve in that process. There's the highlighting everyone's contributions and showing them off to the council and to everybody else who's sort of moderating. And then there's the then there's that moment of you've signed the thing and it's like a big ordeal. And so maybe it's definitely worth having something there that where you're signing it and it feels more than just checking a box or ticking a thing or whatever. But yeah, it definitely could. It definitely seems like it could be easier. I haven't gone through the process myself, so I'm speaking as an outsider. But we'll do it on stream one time.
You should.
We'll do it on air.
Do it live, yeah, cool.
Great.
Do it live, yeah. Everyone can see, everyone can watch us fail at the GPG key signing thing, and then that'll be enough of a motivator for us to figure something else out.
We'll change it the next week.
Yeah,
After that,
yeah.
Sorry,
the week
Reese.
after,
But I think that part of it is that, we want something that it definitely did feel like, oof, it's like this is kind of it's like I've gone through this process of this, we want something that where people still feel like, okay, this is something that I'm going to adhere to. So that's important. But yeah, it's just something that you don't have to reset when you forget to put your passphrase down anywhere. Might have done that. I know, and I really thought that I put it down. So we'll also go through the act of me revoking my key and reinstating it. So yeah.
So a great learning experience.
Everything. It's character building. So
there you go.
yeah. So you made your pages. You got the GPG key signed. You had a lot of people who probably told you, "Wait, you aren't already a member?" I think, Diogo, I might have said those exact words to you.
Yeah, you're not the only one. A lot of people told me those things. Yeah.
So what happened? Oh, sorry about that. So what happened when it came time for your IRC interview?
Oh, I was so nervous. I was terribly nervous.
Oh no!
I was, but as soon as someone, I don't even remember who was, told me to relax, I just started relaxing a little bit. Everybody was very friendly. And then some of my friends in the community appeared to support me. So yeah, that went much better right after that. And it was great. I felt great after that. Yeah, the fact that the community is so friendly, it's the second time that helps me surpass this issue. The first time was my first talk in UbuCon, which was also my first time speaking in public.
Wow.
In UbuCon Europe, yeah. And it was just after the opening session. So,
so
whole bunch of people there.
So a few, but I looked at the audience, and so many faces were so familiar that I felt at home, and yeah, I just got over it and started talking, and it was great.
Nice.
That's
Imagine
really
how
good.
Imagine how the whoever was going first, whoever the keynote speaker felt. Like, oh no, I've got to go before this guy. He's going to be so good.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan?
It was
Yeah,
but he's really good at those things.
Yeah. Oh,
I know when it came time for my meeting, I felt equally nervous, and I don't know why, but I did. And I probably shouldn't have, because the questions were not hard and they weren't things I couldn't answer, and certainly none of it that I didn't have ready to go. But I don't know, it just felt like it felt formal and a little bit of an inquisition, even though it wasn't that bad. So yeah, I felt a little nervous about it, but I think it was a good thing. Certainly makes you know that you're alive, right? So it was not as bad as I had made it out to be.
Yeah, and the fact that it feels important. It feels that you achieved something, and it's something that gives you happiness when you have done it.
Oh yeah, I totally had a celebratory tweet after my meeting, which was, and also I might have made a pumpkin cream cheese tart.
Nice.
Oh god, I should go and find it. But I put like the kind of cream cheese swirl, tried to put it in an Ubuntu logo type shape.
Oh wow.
It,
Well, that's pretty cool.
yeah,
that's awesome.
it kind of like, if you squinted and looked at it the right way, then it could have been the circle of friends. But I did feel like the questions were, they did make me think, but they weren't anything. I didn't feel like they were like gotcha questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
No way. No.
Yeah, it was more just like getting you to think a little bit more deeply about things, and it was really nice. And hopefully Dan Llewellyn isn't listening to this saying need more puzzles and super hard questions.
Ask more riddles. Yeah.
Just kind of like the Ubuntu Sphinx or something like that, which would be kind of awful. But no, it is just, it feels, and afterwards you just like, I don't know, if there's an opposite of imposter syndrome, I would say it's the feeling you get after they say you're a member.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
It's just affirmation syndrome. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah,
I don't think
know.
it's a syndrome anymore, right? I don't think it's a syndrome. It's just a good feeling.
It is a very good feeling.
Yeah, euphoria, I think, is the term that comes to mind.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ubuntu euphoria. That's a good.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Cool.
There should be a
Well,
release
it's
called
good.
Euphoric something.
Oh, there you go.
We're gonna have to wait a while.
A while, yeah. But yeah,
that
we'll get there.
Yep.
We start the petition now. Maybe we'll get it there. Maybe we'll get it. That'll be cool.
Yeah, so for anyone in the chat who is either going to be applying for membership soon, or who might be on the fence about applying, and what advice would you give them beyond what you've already said?
Give it to me. Give me the advice.
Okay. So go ahead, Stefan.
Oh yeah, I say just go for it. I mean, probably said that already once, but yeah, I think yeah, just grab a buddy if you have any questions, and ask away. But certainly don't feel like you need to hesitate, because someone's probably there to help you, and I'm sure. I mean, every one of us, contributing on some level with some aspects. So go for it.
Yeah, for sure that Reese already has some significant contributions that would lead him to be accepted, I believe. Yeah, and even if you have to do the GPG thing, which looks scary, it's not so hard. There are graphical tools. Thunderbird itself has some tools that allow to do this also.
Yes, the new Thunderbird is actually pretty good now. It used to be an add-on that you had to add to Thunderbird, but the new Thunderbird has GPG stuff built in, which is great.
Thunderbirds are go, eh? That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
And,
Sorry.
and if you have to repeat it, just okay. It's okay. No, it's not a problem. Just repeat it. I was an ideal case because I already was using GPG before, and because I'm very privacy sensitive, and I just like it and believe that everybody should be using it, even if I don't always use it. But yeah, you go ahead, do it, and if you have to repeat it, yeah, that's okay too. I'm pretty sure that approval will be swift for you, and for many of those that are in the chat and that I know they have contributed. So there's no problem about that. the wiki itself will give you some trouble because the wiki is really old and slow. But okay, just go do it today a little bit, a little bit tomorrow. Just continue doing it. Just don't stop. Don't do like me that stopped for a few years, then continued, then stopped, then continued. Don't do like me.
But
Yeah,
obviously, sorry, Dan.
no, I was just going to say that the wiki is great because you can build on it as you go. You don't have to do it all at one sitting. Certainly, keep building on it, and then when you're ready to go, it'll be there.
Yes, and Bitten actually brings up a good point. Is that this was my thing, trying to figure out how to how to create my page and then how to edit it. And so it was, and certainly one of those things. And I think that we're going to have all kinds of links in our discourse post for this office hours, and having one on where you go to be added to the wiki editors. But don't worry, we have some people who are very responsive to those requests, and we'll get them filled very quickly. And then also things for, like, my thing was I had no idea how to edit in Moin Moin. So what I did was I just took my friend Bill and I just took the code from his and I just changed it.
There are some templates.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some. I was just going to say
there
are some templates that you can just start with that.
Too. Yeah, which were really helpful. So either kind of, and so we'll try and find one of those templates. If not, I've got a really super basic page. If you want to borrow that, you're totally welcome to. But let's see. But I think but also maybe having, people who are members who would be okay being mentors to people going through the process. And so if you we'll post the discourse link. I'm actually going to post this now, but we'll also post this in our kind of post office hours tweet and elsewhere. If you would like to be a mentor to someone going through the membership process, then please just kind of post on that link and say, hey, I would be happy to help, to help answer your questions and help kind of guide you through. And because that's one of the things I know that Reese and I have talked about, that we'd love to see more kind of formal mentorship. We have a lot of, I think, unofficial mentorship that goes on, but we want to be sure that that we kind of just start making this a regular process, that we can help newcomers to the community find mentors to guide them, and just make that just a standard part of what this community is.
And often it's less sort of instructional, more just reassurance, right? Because the wiki editing, adding to wiki editors groups, while it is an issue, and that's definitely something we should figure out a better way to do, it's a set of instructions that you can do and you can follow. But along the way, you're thinking to yourself, oh, is this the right way to do it? Or is this, am I doing this well? Could I be doing this better? And if you just had someone, even if you just had someone saying, yes, that's good, that's fine, makes you feel better, right? So
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, though I am going to share this post that that Yannick, I think, will be an interesting mentor there. So yeah, so it's just that mentorship with a personal touch there. So Yannick, thank you so much. But otherwise, you don't even have to go to people's places and kick them in the posterior, just to give them an encouraging word. And I think definitely all of us who felt like I am not ready to apply. Why would they want me? I'm not doing things that are important. For you to share your experiences with people and say, I felt a lot of these things, and here's what helped me. That's great. So
Yeah, I can say I had great mentorships and a couple of people that were definitely prominent there helped me get over some of my own shortcoming, as far as a fear in that what I was doing was significant.
Yeah, I had not so much mentorship, but some recommendations from my several friends in the Ubuntu community, and that helped. Even if it's just not just one mentor, it's just friends in the community giving you advice. Look at my page, how I did it, or you're doing too much. You are putting too much effort in that thing. You don't need to do that.
How,
Yep.
if you don't mind me asking, who were your mentors? If that's something you wanted to shout out.
Sure. Two people that I'll shout out. One is Walter Lipczynski, Wixel, definitely, and Simon Quigley. So both of those guys really, they push our team hard, but in a good way. So they were very much in the forefront for
That's great
advocacy.
I have to mention Tiago Carrondo, which is one of the oldest members in our community. Also Rudy, which was on the previous office hours, and Marcos Costales, our friend from Asturias. These three and a few others, but too many to mention all. But I have to mention these three.
That's great. That's really cool. And are they all? Is everyone? So a lot of the names that you both just mentioned, I'm familiar with, but I haven't met. But some of them not. Are they all still active and they all still participating? All still potentially active for mentorship for new people?
Probably, yeah. Those three, probably.
Yeah. Don't sign them up without their knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and now you have us as well. So I mean, put some more
Can we
names
just write
in
that down?
Dan Simmons.
Yep. No, seriously, I would be happy to help.
And in the Portuguese Ubuntu community, we are doing a monthly meeting every month for over 5 years. We missed 1 month. We are doing it online now, and a few of the first few online sessions were actually helping people to sign the code of conduct, to get to know Launchpad better, to get to know all the tools, the wiki, the Ask Ubuntu, all those things. It helped. A few more signed the code of conduct. A few more got into translations. So it did help. So if your local community is doing these sort of things and in your language to help you understand things better, that's a great thing to do.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So I think we do have a little bit of time for questions. So we had a question. It was, I need to go back because it was way back here. But oh my gosh, this was way back here. I really need to put timestamps. Oh, there we go. So, what does membership give to the holder besides big satisfaction? And then we all talked about how it was a lot of warm and fuzzy feelings.
Besides Ubuntu euphoria, of course.
Yeah, right.
So obviously we could link, the membership page. But for you, what do you think the biggest benefit has been for each of you?
Well, I think it gives you a sense of belonging in something that is important, and it broadens your circle, if you will. You join a bigger circle. I think when you do that, and so I guess it does give you a good feeling, but it also lets you join hands, I guess, with other members, and you get to learn some of their story and some of their contributions. And I think just gathering together is a big piece of it. I mean, obviously you get a new spiffy little email address too to go along with that, but there's it's a good group to belong to. Everyone is encouraging each other, and yeah.
Yeah. Besides all of that, obviously, community contribution is about taking ownership. Ubuntu membership allows you to make further types of contributions. It opens the scope of ways where you can contribute and take ownership of Ubuntu, which is something that you use for yourself. So you might want to have some ownership over it.
Yep.
Excellent. And we have a follow-up question. What do the members have or need to do once they are members?
Well, I think keep doing what you're doing. I think that's it. Sustained contributions is part of membership. So just keep being you.
Yeah, you're already doing it right.
Yeah, you're doing something right. Yeah. For the first question about keep going, keep doing more. For the first question, for what you get out of it, Monica, what about you? What do you feel is a benefit?
Wow, what's funny is because a lot of things that I put in my, what I want to do as a member, I am actually doing as part of my job here. But I think it's weird because it all I became a member in December, and then I interviewed for this job a month afterwards. And so what was interesting, I think it certainly made this job a lot more meaningful, because I'm not just, representing a community that I don't have a connection to. The Ubuntu community isn't just some kind of abstract thing, and when I'm done with work, I don't think about it. Ask my husband, I think about it all the time. And he's probably like, oh my gosh, does she ever talk about anything else? But for me,
Why did I play those Ubuntu podcast episodes?
Yes, I know. He's probably like, man, it's like, I have no one to blame but me. And he's exactly right. But I think it does make this, it makes this not so much a job, but as a duty in the most important sense of the word, because I'm helping to support and create a community that I am a part of and want to be a part of going forward, no matter what happens. And it's especially being part of this movement of, these very warm, helpful people who want to kind of get not only that kind of that feeling out, but this system that they've built on top of that has helped a lot of people, like my husband and countless other people around the globe. It's kind of, it's kind of a whole bunch of things. So
cool.
That's me.
That's really interesting. It's this sort of, in terms of in participation in the Ubuntu community, it was sort of the reverse for me, right? Because I joined knowing the idea and liking the idea of open source community and the Ubuntu community, and then as I became part of Canonical, I very much gravitated towards the community and started contributing from the other way around, right? So instead of it being gratifying, it was a discovery process. So it's really interesting that you could do it both ways around, right? You can go from an Ubuntu contributor to someone who does more, and you go from someone, and very easily, I think, I went from someone who didn't do anything and didn't know a tremendous amount about it to someone who does some stuff. It's good. I just want to highlight the last sort of question / comment there. I'm just going to show it on the screen because I think it's interesting to hear from you guys about it, which is which everyone's covered now. But so let me unshow that. But we can just read it, right? So looking at the option for becoming a member, I see lots of avenues for things like participation in IRC or the forums, perform development functions, but not really any avenues for those of us who are technically inclined, but as say a system such infrastructure engineer versus software developer who is contributing packages to Ubuntu. So yeah, exactly. So as someone who is a systems engineer, as someone like that, what avenues do you guys see as a way for those people to contribute to participate in these things? Dan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. I think something that's not mentioned there, but is important, is the testing aspect. Certainly, test things in an upcoming release that you would normally try in, maybe in a production environment, and report, bugs that you find, and all of those things are very valuable. I guess beyond that, if you have any technical documentation, or even changes to current technical documentation that you find that maybe the process has changed, and things of that nature, any of those contributions are certainly worthwhile as well. And they aren't they're technical in a way, but they're not writing code. And I can understand that writing code would cause a lot of hesitation there if that's not something you do. But there's still a lot of opportunity there, I think, to contribute in a meaningful way.
Yeah, there are really some old wiki pages without tools and that need to be reviewed. That's a good thing to do. Just give feedback to Ubuntu about something that was introduced into Ubuntu, and they need to know, did we do this right? Do we need to tweak something for the future? Those sort of things. And I'm pretty sure that there are people in your community that need tech support. That's a good way you can also support the community, or even just help do some administration for your local team, and to support some events in technical ways. There are plenty of ways to just go to Ask Ubuntu and answer some questions, things like that.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things, when you, Gorian, when you described what you were doing, what you were building on top of Ubuntu server, and I think that they're actually from the advocacy avenue there. If you are, if you are showing and just highlighting what you're doing with this, I think that this also is an avenue that is pretty unique, but also equally needed. And I really like this idea that the ways to contribute to a community, that there are always these certain kind of core things, but then there are these ways to contribute that we might not have even thought of. And so I think that's one thing that the Ubuntu community from the start has always tried to do is it's not, contribution does not only equal development, that there are all these other ways to contribute, and they're not set in. It's like we haven't closed the contribution canon. It's like, okay, these are the only ways to contribute, boom. And so if you find something that kind of leans into your interests and skills that is getting the word out about Ubuntu and could maybe help others kind of do things similar to what you're doing on server, or whether it's things like microcates or IoT and all these new aspects of our community. And Ken, yay! Hi, Ken! There's so many ways to contribute, and we're going to have all these new people doing Flutter which is going to again be, a traditional role, but a very new way of contributing. And basically, if you think about it, are you helping people use Ubuntu or to learn about it? And if you're doing, if what you're doing is doing one of those two things, and you're contributing, basically. And that includes all the flavors. So
The
Ubuntu is a
Ubuntu
big tent. Yes.
Yeah, and just start.
Except Yannick, don't start a cult. Please don't start a cult.
Oh, that's a good idea. I will join. I'll join. Start a podcast, the Ubuntu Data Center podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we currently have we have we have 3 Ubuntu podcasts, and then the Ubuntu security podcast.
Mm-hmm.
3,
but yeah, because there's yours, the UK one, and then the Colombia one,
and there's also a Spanish one.
Okay.
Ubuntu de outras Yarbas de Marcos Costales y sus compañeros.
Shoot. Okay, 4.
Yeah.
Shame on us. Let's get some URLs.
Well, I think that clearly what we need to do is maybe have an episode with podcast people on. Diogo, we might be asking you to come on for a couple things. Just saying.
Okay, I'll join. I'm always happy to do things.
Yeah. But just contribute, do kind of what speaks to your strengths and helps people use Ubuntu, or helps people know about it. And I think that Reese, we did have a discourse post about this, about different ways to contribute.
We did. Let me go and find it.
We did. There we go. Yes.
There it is. And I see you guys posted the link that I had there from our manual about contributing, in Ubuntu as well. So that's another good resource to go read. It's not all code. There's a lot of other things you can do to help contribute.
And then also, hopefully next year, when we start to go back to in-person stuff, then we are looking to really kind of restart our community boost. So if there is an open source, free and open source conference event that you want to go to, and you think, man, it would really make sense to have an Ubuntu booth here. That is you all saw the video from last week with the Ubuntu France people having a great time at a music conference. So, really, there's all kinds of places that we can be in our communities to get the word out.
Definitely. All right. Let me step in there. Oh, unless you've got something else to say, Monica.
I do want to say that we got Big Pod, who is from the Ubuntu Mate team, has signed up for next month's membership meeting.
Awesome.
Yay! We're very proud.
Very cool. Okay. With that, well done, Big Pod. Absolutely wonderful. With that, I think we're already quite a ways over time. So let me thank you both for coming. Thank you both for joining us.
It's a
pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, anytime. You're welcome back. If you have an idea of something else you want to talk about, let us know and we'll bring you back. And thank you everyone who's stuck with us and listened throughout the whole thing, or people who've joined or anything. And thank you to the people who are listening, not live, for listening at all. And unless anyone has everything else to say, thank you everybody, and have a good day, night, evening, morning, whatever's going on.
All right.
Good generic time of the day.